Good morning. Today is the 2nd of Nisan, the 31st of March. And
Torture of the Rashab.
The Torture of the Rebbe Rashab, the Miyased, the founder of Tomchei Tmimim, which was Tomchei Tmimim, the yeshiva, the Chabad yeshiva.
He started the Rashab, started it? I didn't know that.
10 Vav Elul of Tafshin Nun, Tafresh Nun Vav, or Tafresh Nun Zayin, 1897. And a lot of people don't know that. I think that his main reason for founding the yeshiva was to provide an alternative against the Haskalah.
Haskalah?
Yeah. And from that day on, this was the motto of the yeshiva, is that there's no chol in it, there's no chulin, there's never any Haskalah, there's never anything else. Okay. Anyway, so now we're coming to probably the most important part of all of this. וזהו עבדים היינו לפרעה במצרים. So we're on page 156. This is what it means that we were slaves to Paro in Egypt. Why? Because לקחתי את השני, כי שכחתי את שלי. לא שכחתי, שכחתי. So just to recap, we have two ways in which the klipa takes from holiness. Either from what it's facing, the small hairs, the katnus, the details, right, we call it, and what it's facing, the backside is facing the makif, and we call that the mentality. So we had mentality and details. Those are the two places that the klipa takes from the person. It's either in the makif, and there the mentality is in general. It's not something specific. It's in general what your outlook is. And in the details, it's the smaller the detail, the more the klipa can take from there. Okay, so that we discussed enough already. Now he's going to apply all of this. He says this is what it means that we're slaves to Paro in Egypt. The Perush b'Mishnat Chasidim, as it explained in the Mishnah Chasidim, from Immanuel Chai Riki, Uva la'il perek aleph. And we said this in the first chapter, if you remember. We said, what does it mean that we were slaves to Paro in Egypt? That we is Zah, and we're slaves to Paro in Egypt. That Paro is Otiota Oref, is the backside of the neck, and he was taking from us, and so we became his servants. Meaning, in other words, when you are, we call it being enslaved to the klipa, so it means that it's drawing holiness from you, it's taking from you, and you're not eating the fruits of your labors. And there's all the fruits of your labors that you're supposed to have, and instead the klipa takes it, the negative side takes it. She'anu bnei Zah, we, the children of Zah, Zeir Anpim, hayinu avadim leparo omed ba'orif. We were slaves to Paro, who was standing in the nape of the neck. ומעכב שלא יהיה המשכת השפע בבחינת פנימיות, אלא לא. And he was drawing down the sustenance to himself, instead of to us. We weren't receiving it, he was receiving it. He was enjoying the fruit of our labors. והיינו כנ"ל שמבחינת הרצון, כשאינו מתלבש בחוכמה, יוכל להיות נמשך, ינקה גם לחיצוניים. And we said this is because the will which is what creates reality, and it's not enclosed in wisdom yet, because there's no wisdom yet. We're in a state of gestation. So because there's no state of wisdom, then there's no ability to discern between where the sustenance should go and where it shouldn't go. We said that was the din. That's the aspect of judgment of wisdom. The wisdom knows how to divide things up. Or as we say, kulam b'chokhmah yitbariru, that we clarify who deserves and who doesn't deserve through wisdom. And we said this is even in the wisdom of nature. But in nature, it's equal to everyone. There's no real discernment. But in the wisdom of the Torah, there is who deserves and who doesn't deserve. Right? So if you don't have wisdom, you can't tell the difference. There's no separation. Because we said like a gecko can be found in the chambers of the king when there's no wisdom. So you ignore it. ומכל מקום, גם משם יניקתם רק בבחינת אחוריים ולא מבחינת פנים חס וחלילה, שהרי אינן רצויים כלל, כי דכתיב את עשיו שנאתי. And still, as we said, they only receive from the backside. That's in the mentality, the backside. As it says that they're hated, as it says that I hated Esav. I hate Esau. That's in Malachi Aleph Gimel, in the first chapter of Malachi. וכמו שכתוב, פרק א' גם בעניין העיגולים שאחוריהם אל המקיף. And as we explained many times now about the circles who are the backside of the klipa faces the circles. והעניין, כי הנה שם הווי רומז על השפעת אלוקות לאבות העולמות. So now I want to explain this a little bit better in terms of what does it mean that the Ratzon didn't have yet wisdom. We said this just because he's in a state of gestation. So he's going to explain it a little bit more. Hine Yud K, in God's name, Yud K Vav K, in the Tetragrammaton, the Yud and He, Hem Chokhmah Vebina, they're wisdom and understanding. Hem Pchinat Tzimtzum V'Itpashtut. So it's a very famous thing from the Alter Rebbe that the 4 letters of Yud K Vav K, this is one of, I think it's his innovation. I don't know if anybody said it before him. There are 4 levels to every creation. They follow the 4 letters of Hashem's name. And how does that work? That the Yud is Tzimtzum, contraction. The Hey is Itpashtut, is expansion. The Vav is Amshacha, drawing down. And Hey, the second Hey is another expansion. Okay. So the first 2 are contraction and expansion. That in every time that you give something, so the classic example is in the Tanya. It says you teach a child. So it says, what's the first thing you have to do when you teach a child? Contraction. Why contraction? Because you can't give the child the way you understand things. You can't give it over the way you understand it. Because he won't understand it. So it has to go through a contraction. You have to limit what you're going to say. You have to find a way to dilute it, not to dilute it, to concentrate it. To concentrate. אתה יכול לתת לי את המיקרופון מתוך הכיס הקדמי ואת המחזיק שם. So you have to find a way you have to find a way to explain it to him. So for that, you first have to contract it. And then you have to expand it again. In other words, you have to find the right language. It's not just I don't know what just happened. Okay. It's not just that you have to decide that you're going to teach one point and not everything. That's the contraction. It's that after you've decided that you're going to teach one point out of all the things that you wanted to teach, then you also have to expand it again. Now you have to find the right language to state that one point. So that's that's called a process of creation. So people might not think that this is really creation when I'm teaching someone. But it is, because you're creating a new mind. You're creating something new in them. So you have to know how to concentrate things, and then you have to know how to find the right language to explain them. And if you can't do that, then you've toiled for nothing, and then nothing's going to transfer to the child. שיש בכל השפעה, וקוצו של יוד בכתר והוא בחינת הרצון שלמעלה מחוכמה ובינה. Now he adds something, and he says, but even before you start teaching, there has to be will. There has to be a willingness to even teach the child. If you don't have that willingness, then you'll never go through the process. So really what happens, they have children, and they don't spend time with them. Why don't they spend time with them? Because they don't have will. They don't have the will to start dealing with this whole process. But you have to. That's part of what the Rebbe wanted, that every person should spend half an hour a day thinking about his children's education. So a lot of people say, where should he go to school? I don't need half an hour every day to think about where he goes to school. Where he goes to school is where he goes to school. What do I need every day half an hour? I have to spend half an hour every day thinking about what are the topics that are close to him now, that he wants. And I have to think about, every person's different. What can I take and concentrate and then open up into... So that's the willpower, is to spend that half hour to think about it, to even want to do it. And this is what we call the will that is above wisdom and understanding, and is their source. Because any kind of sustenance, any kind of effluence that you give someone is dependent on will. And willpower has also an inner and exterior. There's an interior and exterior power of the will. It has two aspects to it. Now we're beginning to understand the word orif, the nape. It says there's the interior of the will, and there's the nape of the will, the orif, the backside of it. And this is called arichanpin. So now we have a new thing, we haven't talked about him so much. Another partzuf. The lower partzuf of the keter is called arichanpin. And generally in Chassidut we associate arichanpin with will. Where's the will? The will is in the neck. This is a very important thing. We'll do the anatomy tomorrow. Okay, but it's different than the anatomy that you know. So we're going to have to learn how arich enclosed inside the body, because it's a different picture altogether. It's not the usual picture. When we say Chochmah and Bina of Arich, we're talking about something entirely different. Okay, so. Oh, put it back. It's over there.